All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Sunday live stream. We have Anna Maria back again. She is now the main astrologer for MTZ. For those of you who've gotten readings from her, you may already know who she is. Those of you who were tuned in to the last live stream where she was here, you probably recognize her. But we're going to have another chat here. But great to have you here, Anna Maria. It's always a pleasure.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the invite, Athen, and I'm excited to be here as always.
Awesome.
And let's get this party started.
Let's do
And
it.
I wonder how are our followers?
Yeah,
How
so,
have they been? How have you been?
yeah,
How is
let
this
us know.
energy? Yeah, for you.
Yeah, how's the energy for you? Put that in the chat, and then I'll read them. I'll read them to you, Anna Maria, in case
Great.
you don't see them there.
I sometimes look at the other monitor so I can see Athen and your comments.
Okay, so you can see them. All right, cool. So we'll do some community chat and questions and comments. Let us know how the audio and video is. I think last time we had the audios weren't very even, so hopefully you can hear her good and me good, and hopefully it's about the same volume. If there's anything that we should change, just let us know in the comment section. All right, so Anna Maria, you've just had a recent trip to a very interesting temple or museum. I'm not sure what you might want to
It was
call it.
a museum especially, but in that place, it's a place in Romania. It's called the Herculean baths. So there's a legend that the god Hercules and the hero Hercules bathe in those waters because it's like a spring of healthy water, the thermal waters. So Hercules, the god, was a bit tired and wanted to refresh himself in those waters. And it's a place where the Romans dedicated temples for Venus, for example, and for Hygieia and Asclepius. So Asclepius is linked to Ophiuchus, the 13th zodiacal sign. So I had a really interesting grasp of what this energy is of Ophiuchus. And I don't know, do any of you have your sun in Ophiuchus or your ascendant or moon?
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be interesting
let us know, and we can, because
know.
you guys know Ophiuchus more than anybody. I don't have any planets there, so I can't speak on it too personally, and I can't remember. Do you, Anna Maria? Do you have any
I
planets
have
in
my
there?
sun there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You have your son there. Okay, so you know all about that. But yeah, it was good to get different perspectives. So when you're in this temple, so you're mentioning the baths, are you able to actually go in the baths, like, or is this more of like a visual museum thing?
There are some organizations which try to rebuild the buildings and the baths, but there is that thermal water is it's there, and the ruins of the temples or the ruins of the buildings which the Austro-Hungarian Empire built, they are still there, and there are statues of Asclepius. You can see it on my Instagram, and I will post something about the statues and the buildings later on this week.
Cool.
And yeah, I was in shock. I didn't want to do a lot of research before. I just wanted to go. I knew that there's a statue of Venus there, and I wanted to see how Venus does here in Romania. And I was shocked when I saw on a building the statue of Asclepius, which is called Serpent there. So in this and in ancient Greece as well, the Asclepions they were called. They were the temples dedicated to Asclepius, and people went there to get to heal themselves. But it was a place for rest and dream work. So dream work is an interesting aspect of Asclepius. Like, do any of you with the moon or sun or any planet, especially personal planet in Ophiuchus, do you have interesting dreams? Do you find meaning in your dreams? And I found it interesting that it's so linked with health and rest. So besides the redeeming aspect of Ophiuchus, there's this idea of rest. Like I guess after the intensity of Scorpio, uh, and before the exploration of Sagittarius, Ophiuchus would be a sign of integrating that shadow work done in Scorpio, maybe, and in Ophiuchus, that redeeming part. And there's a Ophiuchus is also a sign of rest, like the souls linked with this 13th zodiacal sign. There's idea of getting more in touch with the body, because the Scorpio is it's so much in the depths of the soul, and the Ophiuchus is just the link between the body and the soul and its depths before getting into the exploratory side of Sagittarius. So
Right.
these are just a few of my ideas after
Yeah.
this visit.
Yeah, the scorpion really symbolizes that. The way I see it is it's that very instinctual part of the self, right?
It is
It brings up the primal. And
the
if you
primal.
think of the brain as like the first parts of the brain, as scientists believe, we sort of evolved from, reptiles or what have you. That's what reminds me of Scorpio, is that very instinctual part of the human self. And then Ophiuchus is like, all right, well, let's work with this, right? Let's work with it. Let's work with the serpent, right? Let's work with those very primal parts of ourselves. Let's raise it up, though. Let's raise it up and transform it, right? But it's very interesting about rest. I never thought of Ophiuchus in that sense, but that's amazing, because if you think about like Ophiuchus being shadow work, Jung obviously talked a lot about this, is this idea of like going into the shadow in order to redeem these parts of the self. And how else do we do that other than in dreams, or I guess through hypnosis, or maybe perhaps, but these are all sleep states, right? So it's really through the sleep state, I think,
And through active imagination.
Mm,
So Jung did this and promoted this, and it's a kind of therapy. I do it myself. So when you're maybe a bit confused regarding what you want to do, and there's still 2 weeks till your future illumination reading, for example, and you want to get a better feel of what you feel, or what's the confusion about. There's this idea of active imagination in which you just lay down and let the visions come so you can better understand what is going on. So you can scan yourself, you can scan your soul or your body or mind, and or the room, and to see somehow your thoughts. You can have some kind of visions or images, and you can see where the story goes. So this is active imagination, or at least the way I do it. I'm not a Jungian psychologist or something, but
yeah, it activates
yeah.
that part of
And
the brain. Yeah.
after I visited these baths, especially the bath where I saw the statue of Asclepius, I had some really interesting dreams. So very,
Mm,
very profound dreams.
really?
So I guess the Romans, what they say, it was true that people went there to also to have dreams that can unlock some things in their psyche.
Right. So we should definitely share these pictures. Would you mind if we post them on the social media channels at MTZ? That'd be
Of
okay?
course.
Okay, just, yeah, shoot them over, and then we'll get those up as soon as possible for everybody to check out. And I really want to see this. So it must have been extremely immersive. So is it just one statue? Like, are there serpents everywhere? Like, I'm imagining like this really cool Greek temple with like rods of serpents, or what is it, the rod of Asclepius everywhere or something. Like how would you describe it visually, or was it mostly just like worn down and just kind of a normal temple?
So this is a thermal bath in which the Prince Assisi, if you've heard about the Austro-Hungarian Empire, uh, they did some really great architecture in which they took care of the legacy of the Romans. So this was like 200 years ago or so in the 19th century, and and so they found that the Romans had this tradition, uh, at least here in Romania, of taking care of their bodies in and their souls in different manners. So we have this thermal bath, and when the Austro-Hungarian Empire occupied this territory, they found these healing waters, and they wanted to build thermal baths. So this was high-end luxury bath for the nobility, but not only for the nobility of what is now Romania. And the building is a neoclassical style, but it has these great columns and statues on the roof, and the queens and the nobility of the Austro-Hungarian Empire came and took this healing bath here.
So
And
when it,
also the Romans when we were under occupation 2,000 years ago.
right, right. So the Romans had, was it a temple when the Romans built it, or was it just the baths?
Yes, yes, it was. There were some temples, and there are a few ruins and
Okay.
parts of those temples, but we don't have now.
Right. It's a long
From my
time ago.
knowledge, from what I know,
Yeah.
I just saw like inscriptions from those temples, but not a full, like in Rome
Right,
or in
right, right.
Greece.
Right.
Yeah.
Or super preserved over there, yeah. Interesting. You said there was actually a statue of Asclepius,
Yes,
and that was from the
yes.
Roman era, that statue, to your
Well,
knowledge?
I don't think so, really.
Oh, no.
But you can see it. Can I add it here? I don't know.
Yeah,
I
actually,
can
yeah.
add
If you
the
can share
photo.
your screen, actually, that's a great idea. Oh,
Right.
wait, I'll give you permission.
Okay, but we can talk about. I don't
Okay, you
know.
can share your screen now. This is a good idea. I'd love to see this.
Okay, just a second, so I can find my photo.
I'm a very visual
Yes,
person, so I really like to see these things. And it must have been
okay.
super immersive for you.
It was immersive, and this place is in the mountains, and the water is always running, and it's a smell of sulfur in the air, and it's really interesting. Am I sharing my screen right now?
No, still
No,
no.
right? Okay, just a second.
And I know the Greeks were using a lot of, what was it, lithium in the water, and it'd make you very calm and very relaxed. Obviously, for this
Okay.
Asclepius, this obviously sounds like it deals a lot more with the psychological and spiritual elements of it. But yeah, I'm wondering if
And
they
it's
had.
very interesting that so Asclepius was, I don't know if there were any gods that can revive the dead. I mean, and he was one of the only gods who could revive the dead. And Hades, Pluto, got a bit upset about this and talked with Zeus, with Jupiter, and so as with many stories with Jupiter, no, one of its victims always becomes a constellation. So that is how Ophiuchus became a constellation, no? So there's this theme at Ophiuchus of knowledge being or its power being a risk to itself somehow, no? Or there's a danger in knowledge, and this is where the idea of health comes and rest. So from the mythology and what I sensed at these places is this idea that the 13th zodiacal sign is a Yes, it's a deep transformative sign. But when looking at the polarity, and I would look at Taurus, no,
Or Orion.
um,
Or Orion, right?
or Orion, uh, there should be a balance between Ophiuchus and Taurus and Orion. So, yeah, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's like the earth
Because,
grounding the spiritual, right? The physical grounding
yes,
the spiritual. Yeah. So this idea of, Fucus being about wisdom. So was it that Asclepius had the knowledge of reviving the dead? Was it something like it was some kind of like wisdom that he
yes,
had? And how does that?
yes. And he
Yeah.
was taught by Chiron, so the wounded healer,
Oh, okay.
no?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. And well, didn't
He was
Pluto
taught.
also or Hades also have this power? Obviously, no.
Well, Hades could have done anything he wanted,
Okay.
but Asclepius was also a hero. So heroes are part god, part man, like Hercules.
Oh, he
And
was. He wasn't a full god.
yeah. So what I've read is like he's hero and god. So somehow he's both, but he's not one of the main gods, no.
Right.
And in my opinion, Hades could have uh, revived someone, no, from the dead. So he had this authority, maybe Neptune, no, and Jupiter, because there were three, and there are three which rule the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. So these are the main gods.
Hmm.
Yeah. And Neptune is also very, very interesting because he is linked in mythology with, he has some tonic qualities. He was called somehow like an earth shaker.
Hmm.
So it's not, Neptune is not only about illusion, disillusionment, spirituality, intuition, imagination. He has this quality of bringing the depths, you know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, up to the surface.
Mm-hmm. Neptune does. Yeah, and I would imagine, obviously Pluto, Hades with the underworld, all the water signs, water elements, and then of course, Asclepius is
Yes.
part of that. You know, um, that's where like you might, someone might say that Pluto is the ruler of the same part of the sky as Ophiuchus, right? Because traditionally, when they removed Ophiuchus, it remains Scorpio. The whole part remains Scorpio, and that's obviously the
Yes.
domain of Pluto, right? And so now it's so interesting to see the connection there, because now you have a half human, half god, Asclepius, Ophiuchus,
Yeah.
that rules over that same part of the sky, let's say, or shares that same rulership with Pluto. And it's so interesting to
Yes.
hear that he was sort of earned this power, the knowledge, the wisdom. Do you know how he was given? Oh, so he's given to it by Chiron, right? And Chiron learned it from
Yes.
his own wound, his own wound.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I'm just saving my photos. Although the statue, I don't think you can see it really clearly, but there.
And I'm curious if
I'm
anyone
also a
else has
photographer,
happened to be there. Right. Yeah.
and I have my work on all my computers. Yeah, just a second.
So what's it called over there in Romania? Is it called the Temple of Asclepius? Is that what it's called?
No, these are called the Neptune baths.
Oh, they're called the Neptune baths. Interesting. Okay. But then you go there and you have Asclepius symbolism and Asclepius
Yeah,
statue.
and we also have some Neptune symbolism, but I have to edit those photos
Hmm.
uh, later,
And in
and I
case
can
we didn't
share
say
them.
that, that was, for everyone listening, that was 2 weeks ago that Anna Maria went there and checked that out. But I'd be curious if
Yeah,
anyone else happened to see
I
them. Neptune
usually
baths.
share my adventures on the internet. I'm also a photographer, and I'm really into ancient temples and Roman amphitheaters. I don't know if I haven't pronounced this correctly, but
Theaters?
and old buildings and untold stories and mythology. So I like to feel the mythology,
Yeah.
not only to interpret it as an astrologer somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're a very good photographer. For those who haven't followed Anna Maria, check out her. You post most of them on Facebook, or is it your Instagram? I guess a
On
little bit of both.
Instagram,
On Instagram.
mostly. Yeah.
So, Margaret, if you
And
wouldn't mind, if you could get Anna Maria's Instagram account, go ahead and post it here. And go ahead and post if you can, post the readings page for those that want to get a reading from Anna Maria as well. So that's going to be on the main website there. That way everyone can check out the work. And don't worry about the photos if it's too much. Just send them over to Margaret.
no,
She'll contact you.
I'm okay.
Unless you're almost there. You got them up?
I'm almost there. I just need to share the screen.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. I've given you
Okay.
permission.
Or
so
can you invite me again?
Yeah, you should be able to share now. Is it stopping you?
I should be able to. Check on. And I can never find it when I need the buttons.
It should be just directly on the
Never see
bottom. Share screen, maybe next to chat, maybe next to
Yeah, I have record,
participants.
show captions, more chat.
To the left of that. And sometimes under the more section.
Share. Sorry, you will see all my tabs open. Okay, where can I see my desktop? No. I can see. If I open my photo,
So you click share screen. Usually the first option will just share the whole screen if you're okay with that.
sorry guys.
No worries. So I'll go through the chat. I'll just read off some of these comments here. Aya, great for you to join us. Thank you so much. Everyone give a shout out to Margaret for moderating. Okay, here we go. Wow.
So here
is that Asclepius there?
Asclepius. Yeah.
How do you know? Is there a rod?
Yeah, he has a rod with the serpent coiled on him, and on in other baths I visited in a museum. It was called Apollo Bath. His name reappeared all the time. So it was him and his daughter Hygieia, which is also a goddess of medicine. So these two gods, and also Venus. Venus was there also.
That's
But
very...
yeah, it was him. It's him because I felt it when
Yeah.
I looked up. Oh my God! Yeah.
That's so
It's my
awesome.
sun sign God. This is
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
I can't believe it. Yeah.
It's so real. I'm an American, so we're not used to seeing these kinds of ancient. I mean, for us it's ancient. Maybe not for you, but for us it's very ancient stuff like this. Do you have any of the inside where the baths were?
Yeah. Can you see? Okay.
Oh wow.
Okay, this is in the left. The Empress Sisi had her special place, her cabin in which she took her medical bath. Maybe you've watched. There's on Netflix. There's this show, Sisi or the Empress Sisi. It's about her, and if you know some history, so she was in recent history. She was the Empress of Austria.
I'm sorry, what's her name?
Um, the Empress Sisi, Empress Elizabeth of
Cece.
Austria. Yeah, she was
Okay.
the Empress of Austria and the Queen of Hungary, and she was really beautiful. And she went often in this place to regain her strength.
And
And she was a wild soul.
yeah, and transform
Yeah,
herself, I'm sure.
and she
Spiritually.
had cabins in which so she had more cabins. She had a cabin which where she bathed when she wanted to be by herself, when she bathed with her servants. So yeah, she was interesting. And also the royal family of Romania went to these baths as well.
Awesome.
Mm.
It's very
So
blue. Very blue
yeah,
like Neptune.
yes, yes. And
So you're able to just walk down these corridors? It seems like no one's there. Or is this just look
well, right now it's being there are
renovated?
some organizations which take care of the building, but it costs a huge amount of money. So uh,
But is it like
yeah,
so
they
it's being
will.
renovated, like remodeled?
Yes.
So
Mhm.
were you standing there? Are you like in the hallway or were you part of
Yes, I'm
some
in the
kind of
hallway. Yes, I'm in the hallway. I went for a walk in the town, and I saw a man, and I went directly to him, and I told him to take me to see the gods. And he knew only about the statue of Hercules, which I don't have a photo of it right now. But I told him that I know that there is a god of Venus. I don't know, there are more gods here than Hercules. And he said, "Okay, I'll take you." And he took me to the building.
Oh
And
wow. So this is not the
yeah,
official museum here then. This is not where everyone's
no, no,
going.
no, no. This is close to the public.
Oh wow, that's so cool. That's awesome. Okay. It's like where is everybody? That's amazing. Oh
Yeah.
wow.
And and in this one, I shared it. It's an orange. Um, it's said in Latin, ad aquas Herculis sacras. So at the sacred waters of Hercules, in ad medium, in medium. Yeah.
And what's so interesting about
So
Hercules is like you can think of Hercules as like going through the whole zodiac as part of his journey, right? And like you could almost see that like each of his because he had 12 what was it was like 12 steps, wasn't it? Or 13?
yes, yes, yes.
12 well labors I think it was called. 12 labors.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And like you can see each of
Neighbors,
those
yeah.
is like the evolution of the zodiac, right? I really think that's what Hercules was, the story of
Yeah,
the evolution.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we can link Hercules somehow with our sun because our sun has this hero's journey, We become, yes, we become our ascendant, but our ascendant, it's like a software, you know. But our sun is our hero's journey. We become, yes, we have some traits of our zodiacal main zodiacal sign of our sun sign, but we become the heroes of our lives. So like Hercules or like other heroes in mythology, we have this potential. We are born half human, okay, by our material nature, no, but we are half divine also, no, we are a part of something bigger. So we are our heroes. Yes, we have a shorter lifespan than the heroes from ancient times, but we are our
Yeah.
heroes, our own heroes. And the sun sign represents this journey which we take.
Yeah, that's a
And
very interesting perspective, because the sun is the more, out in the world kind of active hero consciousness, right? Like you wouldn't really say that the moon is the hero. Obviously, she is in the inner world, in the spiritual world, but
yeah.
not in that active sense like Hercules is. So that's so cool. So then you have the sun, Hercules, transiting through the 12 labors or the 12 zodiac signs in its evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've never actually
Okay.
broken it down to see like what are those exact. I mean, I've seen the 12 labors, but I've never associated them with specific signs. I've been wanting to do that, see which ones are
Neither did
which.
I, but yeah. But this is interesting. Okay.
Yeah. All right, so let's go through the chat. Let's see what everyone's saying here. Erica Alexandria, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining. Hello, cosmic friends, says Erica. Hope everyone's doing well. Mercury's entering Taurus, so can someone explain to me why USPS is so slow? That's our postal service in the States, by the way. Why is USPS so slow in delivering packages? My package is days late. Yeah, maybe. Right now, I don't know why. Maybe Mercury's still building his speed from his retrograde, or we did have some challenging aspects with Mercury last week, actually. Mercury was squaring Pluto, which is pretty nasty there. We had some bad news there about not passing a test that I was trying to get there, which is not so good. Maybe that has to do with it. But yeah, Mercury and Taurus, I think, should still be fine. What do you think, Anna Maria? I mean, it's not the worst place for Mercury to be in.
It's not the worst place, especially since Jupiter is leaving Taurus. Um, what I've noticed with Jupiter's transit in Taurus, and since Uranus is in Taurus, so what does Uranus in evolutionary astrology represents a trauma? So yes, he's shock, rebellion, innovation, aliens, and astrology, and everything spicy like this. But he also represents trauma. And so right now, any placement in Taurus, anything that happens in Taurus has this potential of being traumatic somehow. I don't want to be dramatic, but
Because
there's
Uranus is
this,
in
this
there.
yeah, and Jupiter expanded that. So also Priapus is there, and it's conjunct Uranus. So there's this theme of not having the security that we need, and Priapus is there, like being hungry for some type of security, financial stability, or regarding self-worth. And these the delay of the package could be seen, I guess, in the natal chart more. So
Yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah.
depends. Maybe the package went through its own labors to get to you. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
it depends on the significance of what does the package mean.
Right. And simply, it's always good to have the planet changing sign, because if you do use equal, or what we should say is whole sign house systems, then it will mean that Mercury changing sign means that Mercury will go into a different house for you if you're using that kind of house system, or a different part of your chart if we're looking at it generally like that. So I really like sign changes, because it does really mean a shift of energy. So if things haven't been going so well with your packages with Mercury in Aries, where he's going into Taurus, I think on Tuesday. Mercury goes into Taurus on Thursday. Mercury goes into Taurus on Thursday. Things should shift. If Mercury things haven't been going well for you past really only week and a half, then things should shift with that on Thursday. And that really, I think, speaks to everybody there. The Hippie Sage, great for you to join us. Greetings and blessings. April Moore, always a pleasure. Amanda, always great to see you. JW. All right, let's see if we have some questions and comments. We have a lot of Ophukins here. I mean, if I had anything in Ophiuchus, I would totally convert to true sidereal. I want to do a statistic and see actually how many true siderealists, or how many people in our community have something in Ophiuchus, because everyone's always proud of their signs, and there's so many tropicalists that are like so proud of, they're like, I'm a sun in Leo, and like, I'm not into true sidereal because I don't want to be a Cancer, right? Like stuff like this. But it also works the other way. What happens when you find out that your sun's in a fucus or your moon's in a fucus? Then you should definitely be a convert, right? Because that's so cool. It's so cool to be a fucus. But there's so many here. We have Sun and Venus in a fucus from a frequency.
Beautiful.
April's daughter's ascendant and North Node in a fucus. Aya's ascendant and Mars. Ascendant, lots of ascendant fucans. Ascendant Neptune. So the ascendants who we're becoming. So it's really great that anyone with an Ophiuchus rising is getting into the stuff we're talking about today, you know, healing, personal transformation. Yeah, if you could do it through astrology, things like astrology. Mars in Ophiuchus. Sun and Mars in Ophiuchus. Lots of Mars in Ophiuchus. Interesting.
Interesting, yeah. And the Ophiuchus people, how are you? Are you really determined in your life? Do you have lots of determination?
What do you think they'll say? What do you think they'll say, Anna Maria?
I think they do, but I also think that there is also some kind of fear, you know, because Asclepius was punished for his knowledge. So there might be a tremendous power, but also some type of fear of exposing that power that they have, the strength, the power, the wisdom, the craziness, the vision for the Neptune. So I have Neptune on the ascendant, but it's in Sagittarius. So, and in Ophiuchus, I'm sure this is an interesting placement. So what kind of visions do you have? Yeah, I'm sure she has really great intuition and also sees other rather clearly, although she might not be conscious of it somehow. Like this would be a great visionary with someone with Neptune in Ophiuchus on the ascendant. It's like seeing the medicine of the future somehow. No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nicknamed Man has the same thing. Nicknamed Man says, I have Neptune in Ophiuchus in true sidereal. That Neptune is in a strong square to my sun. So how do you interpret those? How do you interpret a Neptune in Ophiuchus? I'm curious where the sun is. Would it be over in the Leo side or the Aquarian side? But either way, Neptune in Ophiuchus squaring the sun. Any words of wisdom for Nicknamed Man?
Well, I think that squares or oppositions from Neptune to personal planets, especially Sun, they hold great potential as always, because that's what squares do. They hold tremendous potential, but there can also be a lot of disillusionment, like not seeing things clearly, not understanding oneself clearly or rationally, like being rational somehow could be a problem because Neptune brings all that inspiration and it's like an antenna, you know? So Neptune, those with important Neptune placements feel the world, don't understand it rationally with their minds. I mean, it depends on where is Mercury, but and don't see themselves clearly or their road, no, the hero's journey. Okay, what am I supposed to do? No, because the sun is the hero's journey, and Neptune brings a lot of can bring in a square, um,
The
like
extremes.
someone being somehow like a shapeshifter, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, those extremes of Neptune, right, in the square.
Mm-hmm.
And in case, because we're talking a lot about placements, and in case you haven't seen your true sidereal chart and you're tuned in, Margaret, if you could post the calculator, the true sidereal calculator, find out what you have in Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus is the Black zodiac sign right in between Scorpio and Sagittarius, but it's the only black one, and it's like a U with a little squiggly through it. See what that is in your chart and see if there's any planets in that. Because if there are, then that's the planet that you have in a fucus. It's very rare. It's a very small constellation. And it's very rare to have something very personal in there, like even the sun or especially the moon, things like this. All right, great. So
what does our viewer with Neptune square sun say?
yeah, let's see. Nicknamed man, if you could respond to that, be very curious to see if that's helpful or anything you want to add to that. Yeah. Occipital saying, Athen, you said that this would be a very healing opportunity to tap into occult healing and the unknown. Any authors you would recommend? Well, I always recommend, like, my go-tos are always like, if you can read about Steiner, I really like Steiner. But in terms of like actual practical healing, so the occult is like Steiner, Jung, like that's kind of my go-to stuff. Anything from either of those, Steiner or Jung. But in terms of the actual healing, I don't know. I can't think of any authors. Do you know anyone that you could recommend, Anna Maria, that's like maybe a book about, or just an author that really talks about healing?
I don't see life like a classical astrologer, meaning if you want understanding and like you belong to a group which thinks and feels profoundly, yes, Steiner, it's great. I studied him a lot. Also Jung. But if you want to heal, you need to live. You don't
Yeah.
need to read. So for healing, there's a life, there's literature, Henry Miller, Anais Nin, movies, dancing. This is how I view life because uh, there's a lot of talk in the astrological community. They only talk about, okay, so this week, Jupiter squares, what's happening now? Okay, Jupiter squares Saturn this week. Oh my God. Or Jupiter squares the nodes. And most of astrologers only do astrological talk, and that's great. That's great because we need astrologers. But healing is you can find home when having an astrological reading. There are seeds planted in us which are prone to healing, but the actual phase of healing, so it's a process. This is about life. You can heal after so you have an astrological reading, you think about stuff, and you let it a bit slide. So, and you go and go for a coffee, no, or walk in the park, and there is where the healing takes place. When you're not thinking about, oh my God, I need to heal this trauma with my mom or with my dad or my abusive partner. So no, the healing takes place in real life, in real time. What knowledge can bring us is this space for us to to give us understanding of of the workings of the psyche and of life, you know. But
Yeah.
astrology is like a gate to healing, but healing takes place in the real world, in life, in my opinion. This
Yeah.
is how I
Very
live. This is how
physical.
I view things.
That's kind of like
And
this. Yeah. It's like the
okay,
shaman, the shaman is, it's like to heal, going deeper into the earth, into the physical, into nature. I mean, I'll tell you what heals
yeah,
me is, going camping, hiking, getting into the nature, things like
yeah,
this, getting very
definitely.
grounded, putting my feet in the earth, maybe doing some gardening. Yeah, but it's very experiential, right? I will say though, in terms of healing, like I've done a lot of work with Pete Walker. If you want to check that out, Occipital.
Mm-hmm.
That's on complex trauma. So like I come from a view that like we're all kind of traumatized. Like obviously some are more traumatized than other, but that we all have a sort of trauma. Um, and you know, Pete Walker has done an amazing job of understanding what trauma is and how to work with it. So I don't, so I don't know to what extent you're asking about the healing, but if you do want to check out Pete Walker, he covers a topic called complex PTSD, which may not be specific to what you're asking, but again, his understanding of trauma in general has just been super helpful. So maybe that'll point you in a direction that could really make things practical. Because even though I totally agree, it's about the physical experiences. There are of course these tools we can use to help facilitate that. Yeah. I've also heard a lot of good things about Body Keep the Score, but I've never actually purchased the book. It's super popular. Body Keeps the Score. I'm sure some of you have probably read it, but it's like it's so massive that I'm like I don't ever start. Like I think I bought it and like I never read it because it's so large. I'm like intimidated by it. I'm like, I don't want to go through this 1,000 pages to, or maybe it's other reasons I'm not reading it. I don't know, but maybe there's some unconscious what do you call avoidance there, but I hear that's a good book too. Body Keeps the Score there. But it's great we're talking about this healing stuff today. Yeah. All right, so let's go and wrap it up here. Let's see if there's any more comments. Amanda is asking, in evolutionary terms, what are the qualities of a fucus? So I think you already sort of answered this, but maybe how would you summarize that? How would you summarize in evolutionary? And I'm assuming Amanda is asking from evolutionary astrology. I'm assuming that's what Amanda's asking, or does she mean maybe evolutionary terms in terms of science evolution? Actually, now that I'm saying this, I'm thinking she might mean science evolution. But anyways, I'm curious on both. So, Anna Maria, in evolutionary astrology terms, what would you say are the qualities of a fucus?
Well, I've expressed them, at the beginning of the video. My view of astrology is evolutionary astrology, although I
Yeah.
like to blend it with some ancient, but somehow astrology is evolutionary astrology because so this is the way I've said that that Scorpio has that intensity and the depth and the shadow work, but Ophiuchus has the power to transmute the depth which Scorpio can feel. So Scorpio has the power to do something about them and to return somehow to the wholeness of the body and the mind and start an exploration journey with Sagittarius now.
Mm-hmm.
Because Scorpio and especially Ophiuchus, in my opinion. So Scorpio is so enmeshed with its shadows or its fears or its taboos or attachments that cannot gain perspective sometimes. Well, it depends on your natal chart, of course, but when we see it as an archetype, it has the power to transform itself, yes, to alchemize, but in real life, uh, Scorpios have this tendency to really bond. So they create a bond with their attachments or fears or obsessions or displeasure for deep, dark stuff, the occult, shadow work, things like this, or fears or obsessions or jealousy. But for example, Ophiuchus has this brings this idea of no of redemption, of accepting the more nastier sides no, of oneself and to become whole. So in the way I view it, like Ophiuchus is embracing that the Scorpio because Scorpio has a lot of wounding, and
Mm-hmm.
when I see charts that in tropical astrology have a Scorpio ascendant and in true sidereal it's Libra, it's like I understand it's like life put them through really tough situations when we see Scorpio placement in or in tropical or through sidereal, I can see that life cornered. Oh, sorry, I don't know the word now.
Cornered.
But
Yeah.
life put them through some difficult situations. And when I see a Scorpio ascendant in tropical and in true sidereal, it's Libra. It's like, yes, there's that softness. A softness from you wants to come out. The the pleasantry of Libra, the elegance, the nobility, no? But life put them through some type of situations in which they always had to battle because Scorpio has a lot of battle in it. But Ophiuchus is like regaining the strength after the battle to the unconscious, for example, no, because it's a very psychological sign. So, and the fucus is the process of healing that the wounds after the battle of the scorpionic battle somehow, and to go on a new journey of exploration now with by being whole through Sagittarius
Right.
and going to the world, Capricorn, Aquarius, and
Right.
returning to the waters of the universe, Pisces. No?
Right. It's that last third. Anytime you're going from that water to the fire, it's very transformative. Always from the water to the fire. Pisces to Aries is obviously the beginning of our zodiac, and then from Cancer to Leo, the Egyptians saw as the gateway of the soul. So that was very clearly marked in their scripture and stuff. That the Cancer to that middle, that's also the moon and the sun rulerships. So that's very significant. And then of course between Ophiuchus and Sagittarius is the galactic center, the center of our galaxy. It's like these thirds, right? So always when you're going from that last of the water into the first of the fire of that, of that section, very, very significant. And yeah, and what you're saying too, it's like like Ophiuchus is the end of that cycle, the healing, and then we rejuvenate, and then as we rejuvenate, then we emerge out to Sagittarius, and we continue on our journey. So that speaks to both the evolutionary astrology and I would say also the evolution of life. So either way, whatever the question was asking specifically about, I think that's really that key there, right, between those two. So Puddlemeat has an interesting one, Lilith in Ophiuchus, and we'll probably just do one more after this and wrap things up. So we're getting close to the hour now, but there's a curveball. What's it like to have Lilith in Ophiuchus?
Great power, but there could be a tendency to stay in the occult too much. No, because Lilith has this idea of no of running away, because I see Lilith with its polar opposite Priapus. So this is the way I understand them. And Priapus, if Lilith is in Ophiuchus, Priapus is most probably in Taurus. So Priapus was a god of fertility, and the Priapus in astrology talks about a great potential for creation, for creativity, for doing something fertile with life. And in Priapus, there is great fear of not being able to do that. And Lilith goes to Ophiuchus and tries to find the answers. Oh, why can't I do it? Let's read 15 books about my trauma so I can do the thing I wanted to do. There is this tendency at Lilith to complicate things. So there's this idea of escapism and running away from the true. In my opinion, the true uh, problem or the main idea is Priapus, and Lilith shows us where we run and where in that process. yes, we gain a lot of knowledge and a lot of power because when Lilith flew from the Garden of Eden, in that process, she somehow individuated herself. No, so
Mm-hmm.
she became herself, but she went through a lot of hardship and pain in her journey, and we don't know if that was what she really wanted. So that was the situation because she no she didn't want to comply to Adam's ideas, no, to put it elegantly. But this might not have been the case if Adam was so was more open. So
Mm.
so this idea of escape and rebellion of Lilith, in my opinion, it's not something which was born naturally in her. It was a consequence. And in astrology, this is how I see it, as a consequence of a pain we had, and that's Priapus. So
Yeah.
Lilith in Ophiuchus can expand the this theme of running into the spiritual, into the occult, into the shadows, and always trying to understand more, to feel more, to and looking for that self-acknowledgement, no, because of Ophiuchus is linked to redemption. So always working on bettering oneself and understanding its shadows and accepting them. But this can become a trend of staying too long in therapy, for example, no,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
not taking that action in real life in Taurus,
Right.
even if you're afraid. So always asking the tarot, what's the
Right.
advice for today, or what does this say? No, this would
Right.
be a Lilith in of you, who's always asking the tarot, always going to some kind of very interesting therapy. So all the time,
Right.
this could be a sign of a good therapist, no, someone who works with shadow work. But the idea is of embracing Priapus in Taurus, the pleasures of life, the pleasures of simplicity, of a good meal, of a massage, of nature, of finding self-worth and peace in whichever state we are. So
Wow, it's very well said. And I love how you tie in the actual symbology of each of the archetypes and then put them together. And it's a very rich, very well said, very, very good description of that. All right, so just wanted to conclude here. Nickname Man did get back to us, and he was the one we were asking to see if that Sun Square Neptune in Ophiuchus resonated. And he said, yeah, I think that what you said about Neptune square Sun is quite true. It's sometimes a battle between reason and intuitive knowing. And person is lost and uncertain about identity of the Hercules Sun. Yeah, so thanks for sharing that, Nickname Man. Glad we can get some confirmation on that.
but
Mm-hmm.
there's great inspiration and imagination and intuition. So with this square, you can do movies, photography, you can write, you can imagine new words, and you have a good any placement of Saturn. So you can create a lot of wonderful poetic things,
Yeah,
and yeah,
yeah. Beautiful things come out of
there
squares.
is
So really
always
the
something
action.
positive.
Well, yeah, and squares are really about building. It's like the most
Yeah.
successful people, not just successful in business or outer world stuff, but just successful even spiritually or whatever, have these squares. You can see it in their chart.
Yeah, definitely.
Very known people, famous people who've done great things. And it's because of that action that we take and we're forced into it. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Anna Maria, always a pleasure. Always great to have you on. Margaret, if you could just post that
Thank
link
you.
one more time for the readings page for those that want to get in touch with Anna Maria for readings, but we will have you on more often, and you're going to be posting some social media. I know I'm putting you on the spot now, but we'll probably be hearing more from you. We'll get those videos actually to Margaret. If you can reach out to Anna Maria, reach out to Anna Maria. So Anna Maria is at masteringthezodiac.com, Anna Maria at masteringthezodiac.com. But Margaret, reach out to Anna Maria to get those photos, and we'll put those photos on our social media accounts and get this out there, because that's so cool. You got to see this temple with, because I was expecting pictures of like a bunch of tourists and stuff, people with cameras or like little corners or something, but you're in the real temple. You're probably not supposed to be there. That's really cool. But anyways, Anna Maria, always a pleasure. Anything you want to say before we conclude? We'll see you again soon.
It was a pleasure, and don't forget to live.
Don't forget to live.
Don't stay only in the mind.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's where the real healing is. Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, have a great week. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.